I'm going to explain in detail what is occurring during the intro scene when you start up Xenogears. This analysis assumes you have played through the game at least once, and I will warn you that it does contain major spoilers, so if you haven't played the game yet, turn this video off and go play it. It's an incredible game. Having said that, it's necessary for me to provide insight into the backstory of Xenogears in order to fully grasp the events that unfold during the intro cutscene. Remember, Xenogears is part 5 in a 6-part series. Getting into the intro, the first thing we see is scrolling text reading, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last." This is a biblical quote, specifically Revelation 22:13. Deus has been alluded to as God in this game, although that is a misconception, which was disseminated by the ethos, and is not really God, rather it is a weapon created by the ancestors of humans, which exist on the planet the game takes place on. Next, we see the massive spaceship called the Eldridge. Keep in mind, these events happen 9,999 years before the actual game starts with Faye and Lahan. The Eldridge is carrying a lot of important systems that are crucial to the story of Xenogears. Before I get into all of them as the intro unfolds, I will briefly explain two of these systems, which is Deus and the Zohar. As I said before, the inhabitants of the planet the Eldridge crashes on refers to Deus as God, but in reality, Deus is an organic entity controlled by an artificial intelligence which was created by the humans that predated humans on the Eldridge by about 5,000 years. The Zohar is a physical power source that humanity discovered, which is believed to have existed since the Big Bang. Humans have modified the Zohar and added computer systems inside of it, resulting in the Zohar being called the Zohar modifier, though I will just refer to it as a Zohar. During a test run, humans combined Deus with the Zohar and then added this linked entity to an interplanetary invasion system called Yawa. Although you won't hear that term in the game as it was too controversial to be added, it was localized to be called Yaba in the Japanese version. Two major events occurred when this link was established and added to the weapon system. One, Deus destroyed an entire planet, and the resulting attempt to control it, Deus caused massive amounts of casualties, but the humans did end up subduing the weapon. 2. A fourth-dimensional being called a wave existence, and you could consider this God in the sense that it is a creator of the universe, was pulled from its dimension into our third dimension and trapped within the Zohar. At this point, the Zohar, which was a very powerful energy source, literally became a source of infinite energy. Because of the disaster with the planet being destroyed, the humans disassembled Deus, separated it from the Zohar, and stored it on the Eldridge. Before the events in the intro scene, a young boy on the ship named Abel wanders into a restricted area where the Zohar was located. Abel's mother died in the conflict with Deus, and when Abel made contact with the Zohar, the wave existence saw the need for a mother that Abel possessed and added a persona to the computer that humans installed in the Zohar to bring the existence of who we know as Elheim into the program Deus would use to resurrect itself. When Abel made contact with the Zohar, the wave existence transferred a lot of its power into him, causing him to be the contact. This is why he's able to live throughout the generations, retain his memories, and have immeasurable power. Because power was stripped from the wave existence and given to Abel, Deus needs Faye to reunite with the Zohar in order to fuse back with it so that Deus will have 100% of the Zohar's power once again. The Eldridge, as I've said before, is a massive ship. It's 270 kilometers or 168 miles long. The hull of the ship, after it crashed, became known to the inhabitants as the Tower of Babel. This is why when you climb it, everything is oriented vertically, and there's a lot of futuristic technologies in it. This image here is showing the city section where a lot of the inhabitants lived and had their food grown. If you remember the bright yellowish section where you had to land correctly on platforms that went up and down, in this FMV displaying the hull is where you can see that section. Going further, you can see just how massive the colony ship is. Eventually, we end up on the hull of the ship, which the game called Mahanon. This is where Deus resides, as well as Raziel Central, which is an extremely large cavern which contains the supercomputer Raziel's Tree. Raziel's Tree contains all of the knowledge known to mankind which predates the events of the crash landing on the planet, including information about the weapon system Yawa, Deus, the Zohar, the wave existence, and more. When Krelian views the contents of this supercomputer, his motives change and he begins his plan to reunify with God. Here, the operator is activating Emergency 1, the highest level of emergency as part of the protocol on the Eldridge. She then alerts that Omega 1 and Alpha 1, which is Deus, is awakening. Here we see the live CCTV footage of Deus, the nucleus of the weapon system, in an apparent embryo, which is likely a means of containment. The operator states that Deus is contacting Razel Central, the location of Razel's tree. The operator then tries to activate the FATEC protocol, presumably an override system, but she herself is locked out of activating this protocol by Deus. The operator then tries to activate the quarantine, but this system is denying her requests. At this point, Deus is quickly taking control of all of the systems on the Eldridge. The captain suggests physically cutting the cables to prevent the electric connections from allowing further containment. This doesn't work, as somehow the electricity jumps between the gaps and establishes a connection anyway. Deus is taking control of the weapons of the ship and activates the autopilot system Faust with the intention of going to Neo Jerusalem, which is Earth 2.
Alpha 1, confirming transfer of coordinate codes. Coordinates input, coordinate NX128, EZ061, the main planet.
Damn, so they're planning on attacking. Engine room. Activate the emergency sealing system. Engine room, engine.
Deus then begins to taunt the inhabitants of the ship by overriding their consoles and displaying "You shall be as gods" over and over. This sentence is an excerpt from Genesis 3:5. At this point, the captain knows there is nothing left to do as the entire ship has been compromised. He seeks to save as many lives as possible by ordering everyone to evacuate.
All of you, evacuate now.
Evacuate the ship immediately. All passengers please board the shuttles in a calm and orderly fashion.
When evacuating, the weapons turn on the escape ships and destroy them all. If you notice these weapons, Faye and Co. enters one of these weapons, which they call the Fort Jasper. The captain looks at a locket with his wife and daughter in it, and despite the daughter looking like Ellie, it's been confirmed that is not her in any way. The captain knows that Deus is trying to go to Neo Jerusalem to wipe out the planet, and the only way to save everyone there is to destroy the ship. So he executes a self-destruct protocol in an attempt to destroy Deus. The ship and many of its components land on the planet the game takes place on. In the wreckage, we see a single human called the Original Mother. This being was created through a biological computer that humans installed in the Zohar called Catamony. The purpose of Catamony was to provide power to Deus through the Zohar and also manage the entire system. Additionally, it has the ability to create organic life. The Original Mother was created through this system. She created Cain and the Gazel Ministry at this point. She then clones herself twice, one into Miang and another into Ellie, the latter because of Faye's contact with the Zohar. Miang's purpose is to resurrect Deus at any cost, as she is literally compelled to do so via her programming, and Ellie's purpose is to be the caretaker of Abel and his incarnations in order for him to eventually reunite with the Zohar. If enough people find this interesting, I will continue doing an analysis on the rest of the game because it's rather complicated, so let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.